Yeah. You're live. I'm live. Well, welcome everyone. Good morning to Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living, a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. And Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. Our promise is to reveal, inspire, uplift, celebrate, and magnify your greatness. We acknowledge our presence here on the traditional and unceded lands and waters of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and Coastal Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. In a similar fashion, we acknowledge how much of what we know in this country today, its culture, economic growth, and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their ascendants who suffered the horrors of transatlantic trafficking, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We also name the Asian and Chicano people who toiled with little recognition. We are indebted to their labors and sacrifices, and we must acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and resulting impacts that can still be felt and witnessed today. Please join me for our opening song, Woke Up This Morning. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Well, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind, stay on spirit. Well, I'm walking and talking with my mind, stay on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind, stay on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All day long, I keep my mind stayed. Well, all day long, I keep my mind stayed. All day long, I keep my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. And now we are at the time in the service where we will have our meditation. So I invite everybody to get as comfortable as possible. Be aware of the support from the ground. If you need to sit or stand, whatever it is you need for comfort, just do that. Gradually allow yourself to become present of your breath. As we breathe in through the nose, and breathe out, release a sigh through the mouth. Breathe in again through the nose, allowing the chest to rise, and then breathing out through the mouth with a sigh. And again, breathe in through the nose, and breathing out through the mouth. And you'll notice the sound of the heartbeat. This month, we're looking at coming to the edge of our interior lives. We all have beliefs. We have things which hold us in place. And we all have invitations to expand beyond those beliefs. This month is an opportunity to look at our interior lives. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, the days are shorter, and this can be a little bit more restful time. And as we lean into that restful time, what if we deliberately look at our interior lives? What are the beliefs that we automatically know? We may recognize this by what surprises us in the world. So if we believe in the inherent goodness, when we see things that seem different than that goodness, we may feel surprised. When we hear people advancing ideas of separation and things that we consider unkind, perhaps that rubs against our belief in that goodness. What might we believe about our bodies? Do we believe in our capacity or our limitations? What do we believe about creation? The creation of our inner world. Do we believe in our power? Do we believe in our capacity? When we don't live up to our goals, what do we believe about ourselves? Is this a sign of failure, or is this a sign of greater opportunity? So as that heartbeat sounds, as our own breath comes in and out, just allow ourselves to take that time to explore our beliefs, to expand where we might expand, change where we might change, and strengthen where we may already feel strong. Once again, allow ourselves to become conscious of our breath. The breath in and the breath out. Let our bodies do this without direct intent. This is just what it is to be alive. Allow yourself to wiggle your fingers and toes and become aware again of the support of the ground underneath our feet. If we're seated, the chair upon which we're sitting, or the sofa. And open your eyes and I say, Amen, Ashe, and so it is. Okay, so here we have our declaration. Please join me. We're going to do this 3 times. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. And finally, we are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. And so it is. So while the reading is on my phone, it comes from Howard Thurman's book, Inward Journey. Fierce indeed is the grip by which we hold onto our lives as our private possession. The struggle to achieve some sense of individuality in the midst of other people and other things is grim. We are always surrounded by persons, forces, and objects which lay siege to us and seek to make of us means to their ends, or at least to their fulfillment. The demand is ever present to distinguish between the self and the not self. There are moments of enthusiasm when, with mounting excitement, we absorb ourselves in something beyond ourselves. But after this happens, we fight at length to get back home, to come again to the familiar place, to be secure in our own boundaries. Again and again, this process repeats itself, wearing down the walls that shut us in. And so it is.
Good morning
Morning.
and welcome to February. I turn the page on the calendar here today and I go, oh my God, it's February already. So we are going to open with not that, it didn't want you. Maybe I can do it this way. I shall do it this way.
Stand at the edge of the water, still in that peace I am stronger. I don't know if I can cross her. Looking for some kind of sign, for something outside to align, that I only find on the inside. When it'll stop spinning, when it'll slow down. I was swimming deeper, but I didn't drown. In a little silence, in a little peace, took a little time to find a piece of me. Just breathe, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. I am not weak, I am stronger. I will not shrink, I am taller. There is still more I can offer. And someday you'll see the better version of me, the man that I'm proving to be. Oh, when it'll stop spinning, when it'll slow down. I was swimming deeper, but I didn't drown. In a little silence, in a little peace, took a little time to find a piece of me. Just breathe, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. In a little silence, no. So I open up to the flow and learn to love you as we go, until I don't think I just know. When it all stops spinning, when it all slowed down. I was swimming deeper, but I didn't drown. In a little silence, in a little peace, took a little time to find a piece of me. Just breathe, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe.
I picked that song. It was a hard week to pick songs for this talk, but I picked that one because of the title, "Just Breathe." And if you just, I mean, I kind of close my eyes and listen, and just breathe. Just allow yourself to sometimes when the world gets to be a little too much. If we just stop and do that, just stop for a moment. And take a few breaths in and close our eyes and just, center ourselves. So today, as Reverend Vaughn was talking about, about the edge, today's the title is Living on the Inner Edge. And I got a birthday card, I think it was from my sister several years back, with a person standing like on the edge of a cliff or whatever with the wings. And I just love that. It was just, it was just the idea of just being free. And so if we allow ourselves to, go inside, because sometimes we're afraid of what's inside, I think. I think there's a fear about what we might find what's hiding in the cracks and the crevices. Because every once in a while, something pops out. We saw a movie last night, which I don't remember seeing before. That's nothing unusual for me. But it was called Rememory, where the person could take this machine and draw out memories that you didn't really know you had, or you blocked them. And I said, I don't know if I'd want that. There's some memories, yes, but there's some that some are better off just locked in that little room or in that closet, But so today we're going to explore the idea of living on the inner edge. That sacred threshold where our self-perception meets the deeper truth of who we really are. Ernest Holmes often reminded us that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And if that is true, and I do believe it's true, then each of us lives with an inner frontier, a place where small self meets the inner self, where the story we've inherited meets the truth we are discovering. So we got all these stories, that have come in, and the stories may be true, maybe partially true, maybe, made up, because we do make stuff up. That's that new university, actually it's been around a while, MSU, make stuff up. So that that place is the inner edge. The inner edge is a spiritual threshold. I think I gotta do that. I gotta change my little, I decided to use slides today. I hardly ever use slides, so I thought, why not? What the heck? The inner edge as a spiritual, I said is, but as a spiritual threshold. The inner edge is not a place of danger. It is a place of awakening. It is where our familiar patterns brush up against the call of our greater becoming. Like I said earlier, that some of those we may be afraid of. But really there's nothing to fear, we just come face to face. Ernest Holmes taught that life is lived from the inside out. He said that the divine presence within us, the most intimate yet most transcendent part of our nature. That means the inner edge is not somewhere out there. It is within us, quiet, persistent, and always inviting. And as most people know, that one of my mantras or whatever, that life, that life is an inside job. And every time we feel the nudge to grow, to forgive, to trust, to step forward, we're standing on that edge. So every time that we feel that little urge to nudge to grow, like we take a class, we do something for, to further our education, our just self-knowledge, that, and to forgive and to trust. Trusting is a big one. Well, for me, I have to say, to step forward, then we're standing on that edge. Not looking to fall off, but standing there. I picture it like this one here. You're standing there just looking out in the vast whatever. I have a picture that I took of this guy that we went on the trip to Egypt with. And we were going up to top of Mount Sinai, and there was this ledge. And his father had just died shortly before we went on this trip. And so this was a pretty powerful trip for him. And he was sitting out there meditating. And I took that picture of him. And years later, somehow because they had moved, and I got and framed a picture for him. And it's just something that was so beautiful. He was just there, just being in this vast, we're looking at the mountains beyond. And he was just being still in that moment, on that edge. Self-perception versus the spiritual truth. Most of us carry a self-perception that shapes our old stories. I'm not enough. I am too much. Sometimes you don't hear that very often, but I've met people that are a little too much sometimes, you know. But I don't know. I don't believe I've ever said that I am too much. Welcome. I can't change. This is just who I am. You know, and that one is an interesting one, you know. Depending on how you're acting in that moment, you're just saying, well, this is who I am, you know. And sometimes that can be good and that can be, not so good. So to me, that's something where growth can come in. But the deeper truth, the truth that Holmes devoted his life to teaching, that we are individualized expressions of the one life. And that's one thing that I think led me to stay in religious science, was the idea that we are the expressions of the divine, you know, in everything we think, say, and do. That we're part of this one awesome, great life. And that we are all connected. We are not limited by our past, our fears, or our conditioning. That, to me, that's a big one, the conditioning, because we are conditioned. I mean, from the day we're born. I mean, and that's not either a good or bad thing. It's just the idea that, yes, we are conditioned. And as we grow older and we learn, you know, new things, our perceptions and minds change. Like I know every one of us in this room and online came from a different religion. And that's okay. I take stuff from the religion I grew up with and I can use it. There's not a lot, but there are some things. And that's another thing that I first heard. I don't know if it was I think it was my first service at CSL where Kathy Ann said about taking what you need from other religions and leave the rest, because there is good in all of it. Like what's good for me in one thing may not be good for you. So we just take what we need. So we're not limited by our fears, our past, or our conditioning. We are limited only by our willingness to recognize the truth of our being. We are limited only by the willingness. That's a big thing. The willingness, and the willing to be willing sometimes. Sometimes we can't quite do something, but there's a little thing that we kind of want to do it, but we're not quite at that, we're not at that edge yet. We're not at that step forward to make this change, but we are willing to be willing. So that door is open a crack. The inner edge is where these two voices meet. There's a voice of habit, where we do things just out of habit. It's like a little hamster on the wheel. We just do what we normally do and do it again and again and again. And then there's the voice of spirit. The one says, stay where you are. I think that idea of staying in that safe space, that place that you know, that place is familiar. The other says, come forward. There is more for you. And that one is, it can be scary, can be a little nerving. But if we're willing, again, to open that door and move forward, because there is something more for us. I think no matter how old we are or how educated we are, there's always more. I've always said that once I stopped learning, and there's something else too, that then it's time to lay down and allow the spirit to go. And the more I go, the more I live, the more I feel that when I leave this world, that the intermingling of energies is, to me, it seems so glorious. So it can be your heaven, whatever. But our energies, when the energies are released and they gather together, got to be a party. So you can choose which voice you want to listen to. The one to stay put or the one to move forward. Next, we have the edge is not a test. It's an invitation. Sometimes we think spiritual growth is about striving, achieving, or proving ourselves worthy. But Ernest Holmes would say that the spiritual growth is simply the process of uncovering what has always been true. That spiritual growth is simply the process of uncovering what has always been true. We've always had the truth within us. Sometimes we can't see it, or we don't want to see it, or we don't allow it to come forth. That's where listening to that, like the title of that song, just breathe and listen to that still small voice. This is my favorite. The inner edge is not a cliff. It is a doorway. And I was telling Reverend Vaughn this morning when I was going through these that it reminds me of in the movie The Matrix, where Morpheus says to Neo, he says, "I can only show you the door. You have to walk through it." And I've always loved that statement, because people could show us so many things, but we have to experience them ourselves. We have to be the one to take that step forward, to move into the next direction or next whatever. Sometimes we think spiritual growth is about striving. Oh, never mind. It is a moment when we realize that the life we desire is not waiting for us to become someone else. It is waiting for us to remember who we already are. We don't have to become someone else. We just have to become who we are, the truth of who we really are. Because we are that we are that individualized expression of the divine. Yeah, expressing that one life. There was some kind of noise outside. Huh? What was it? Oh, I thought it sounded like gunshots. Yeah, that's That could be it. Yeah. Well, see, we get very nervous sometimes about things that happen. So we do not have to become someone else. I mean, we do naturally evolve and change. If I look back at my life, it's like, oh my God, where I came from, which I call them each past life that I've lived, because we evolve in like maybe every decade or but we do, we evolve. If you look at your life, I'm sure you could see that where you have changed and what assisted in that change. Like I know that one of the big changes for me was a trip to Egypt. That was a huge shift for me in my life. Another great one was when I chose with divine intervention, I believe, to quit using substances. I know that was divinely guided, because where I was headed was not a good place. It was either death, penitentiary, or maybe an insane asylum. Who knows? But it wasn't a pretty sight. So we don't have to become someone else. So how do we live on the inner edge? Living on the inner edge means living with awareness. It means noticing when we are shrinking back into our old patterns and gently choosing again. So we can make choices, like when we do our prayer, and sometimes we pray for something, and once we get it, it's like it's not exactly what I was thinking. So we can do it all over again. You don't have to. You're not stuck. That's the thing people think that once you get something, you're stuck there, and you're only stuck if you choose to be stuck. So we choose again, and it means listening more deeply. I think listening to that and listening and that still small voice inside, sometimes that's why when we go into meditation, sometimes it's hard to clear our head, and if we're contemplating or meditating, sometimes we focus on something we really want, and you're kind of blocked from what's actually being said. So it's listening more deeply, trusting more fully, trusting that still small voice, trusting that divine voice that's saying, yeah, maybe you should go this way. You say, no, I want to go this way. It's a big thing to trust in something that we can't see, that we can't touch, but is always there. Acting more courageously. That reminds me of something I heard on the news this morning. This gentleman was saying, he said, you don't have to get out there and protest. You don't have to do all these other things. There's other little things you can do. You can donate meals. You can all do these little acts of kindness, which in turn mean so much to some people. And then there is loving more freely. Reminds me of the 60s. Free love. I envision that field at Woodstock. I couldn't have been there. I thought maybe I'd like to be there. In some ways, it would have been interesting. I had just gone into the military, into the Navy, so needless to say, I couldn't be there. But yeah, that's loving more freely. allow yourself to love more. It means allowing the divine within us to guide us to the next step, even when the whole path is not visible. Trust and faith. It's that one step at a time. We move forward. Sometimes we may have to step a little back and reassess, but it's to trust. Trust and faith are two big, I think, sometimes challenges to trust. I know humans, sometimes I have a hard time trusting because I've been burned a few times. But I don't mistrust until somebody gives me a reason not to trust them. So I go into a friendship or whatever, trusting. And once they have shown that they can't be trusted, then it's Ernest Holmes said that we are on the verge of a great spiritual awakening. That awakening begins at that inner edge, where we stop identifying with limitation. Because sometimes we put these limits on things. I know I do. I mean, I have, and sometimes they're I don't want to say phantom limits, but we make them up, that make up at the end. But they're not really there, that we put the limitations there, that society hasn't done it. Other times society has done it. Where we stop identifying with limitation and start identifying with possibility. There's that possibility, and I'd like to throw in hope also. Crossing the edge. When we cross that inner edge, we don't become someone new. We become someone true. We become someone true. And I want to say true to ourselves, true to who we actually are. I look at some people and I've seen how their lives have changed, and it's glorious. They've come out of maybe that pile that Stephanie always talks about, and they become that pony. They come out of the crap that they may have grown up in, that they may have put themselves in through different situations in their lives, and they become their true self. We begin to live from the center of our being rather than the circumference of our fears. Those fears that haunt us from the outside. Fear is powerful. Fear stops us from doing so many things, from growing, from loving, from taking that next step. We begin to act from inspiration rather than obligation. Oh, I have to do this because blah, 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 blah. I really dislike that a lot. When I feel that I am obligated, I'll do it because I really want to. I don't want to have to do it and then look back and say, oh, why did I do that? We begin to trust that the universe is not testing us. Rather, it is supporting us. I know some certain times in my life when I felt I was, okay, this is another test, isn't it? When actually it's not a test, because I know I have been supported through 74 years of my life. And I look back at situations where I should have died. you know? But somewhere I was being supported. I was being cradled and held in the arms of the divine and held up from drowning in that sea of whatever that sea is made of, and negativity. And as we cross the threshold, life responds. What we put out there responds. New opportunities appear. New relationships form. New clarity emerges. I know I've said this before, and others have said this too, that a lot of times when we get something from that inner voice and it's like, huh? What the heck? You can ask for clarity, you know? And I'll guarantee you, eventually that clarity will come. That clarity will make itself known. And new strengths arise. You become stronger. Not because the world has changed, but because we have. We have shifted. We have moved forward. So today I invite you to notice your own inner edge. Sometimes those are the things that hold us back. What holds us back? You know, is it fear? Is it judgment from other people? Where is Spirit calling you to expand? That's something I would invite us this week to maybe take that into a meditation or a contemplation and asking Spirit. I know Stephanie kind of does that in her morning meditations. What is she meant to do this day or experience this day? And if we stop and be still and just breathe in and ask Spirit, you know, where am I to expand today? What am I called to do? Where is life asking you to trust? Oh, yes, trust. And where is the deeper truth of who we really are pressing gently against the surface of your awareness? Where is that deeper truth of who you are? It's pressing against the surface of our awareness. It's trying to be known. Just stand there. Breathe there. And listen there. Like stop, be still, and listen. I want a bumper sticker of that. I think that would get some attention, you know, especially when you get on traffic on I-5 sometimes. Just stop, be still, and listen. And when you're ready, take one step, just one, into the larger life that has been waiting for you. Maybe there's something that you really wanted to do, and if there's something holding you back. Might be money, might be fear, might be, you know, you can let a lot of things in there. But just if you just take that one step, even if it's just writing it down to make it clear on paper so that you can see it, that it's actually there, that that's something you want to do, want to be. That's one step. Because living on the inner edge is not about fear. It's about freedom. It is about awakening. It is about remembering that the infinite lives in you. That's a good, lives in you, as you, and through you. That divine expresses in you, as you, and through you. And that truth, once recognized, changes everything. The truth that we know. The divine presence within us is the most intimate, yet the most transcendent part of our nature. That divine, that intimate part of us. That means the deeper truth of who we are is not far away. It is not hidden in the future. It is right here, waiting to be recognized. That truth of who we are, if we're trying to figure that out, it's already here. So we have to just to be open to it. To be open, like Ernest Holmes says, open at the top. Open at the top and being willing to be willing. So this week, yes, I would invite you to take time for yourself, to be still, to breathe it in, and to listen. And writing it down helps too, once you're listening. Because I find sometimes I'm listening and then afterwards I go, what was that? So with that, we're going to go to the affirmation. And we're going to go through that 3 times. Excuse me. I meet my inner edge with courage, capacity, and compassion. I meet my inner edge with courage, curiosity, and compassion. I meet my inner edge with courage, curiosity, and compassion. And so it is. And I want to thank those of you on YouTube who are watching, participating, and I invite you back next week, same time, same station. So thank you. Have a great week. This feels like I'm rusty. Okay, so now we're going to have a little song. I'm not sure which song I'm going to pick yet. I've been torn by these songs today. It's been an interesting. Okay, this one or this one? I think I'll go with this one. Can't go wrong with Fearless Soul.
A bad day isn't a bad life. It's okay, you're doing just fine. When you feel like fighting the world and nothing's going right, remind yourself it'll be alright. One day you will look back and see how much you've grown, how far you have traveled through each and every storm. This is only a season. It won't rain forever, it's only a moment. In time it'll get better. I know you are hurting, but better days will come. This is only a season. If you keep running away from everything, take a second, let the tears run. When your heart is feeling heavy and you've come undone, remind yourself that you are loved. One day you will look back and see how much you've grown, how far you have traveled through each and every storm. This is only a season. It won't rain forever, it's only a moment. In time it'll get better. I've traveled through each and every storm. This is only a season. It won't rain forever, it's only a moment. In time it'll get better. I know you are hurting, but better days will come. This is only a season. This is only a season. This is only a season.
Only a season. So I'm going to. Okay, just one moment. Oh, here.